Good morning. I am about to make some breakfast and hopefully be able to coherently talk about the books that I read in February with you guys. I saw Carmen Janae, hopefully that's how you pronounce her name. She recently did her reading wrap up vlog style, and I really enjoyed it, and also thought that it would it would be a good format for me to get stuff done and be able to take care of Grace. She has banana all over her face. Hold on. So yeah, come along with me today as we get stuff done around the house, but also talk about books, because that's fun. I'm starting to not feel the greatest, so hopefully I don't get worse. I'm really praying that it's just my allergies and not like a cold or something like that. So, anywho, scrambled eggs and toast are on the menu for this morning. So, let's start making that and then we'll talk about the first book. Okay, so the first book that I read in February was Risen Motherhood. And I am the worst at remembering authors' names. So I will, of course, put up the pictures of the book so you can see who wrote it. But I think I gave this book 3.75 stars. It had good information in it, and I would definitely recommend it for new moms. I think it just didn't really hit that well for me because it wasn't necessarily anything new that I didn't already know, I guess. I think the person that this book would be a really, really good fit for is someone who's maybe newish in their faith. I could be wrong. It could just be me. Who knows? There's definitely some moments that were encouraging, but it just wasn't anything life-changing. There was one review that I saw on Goodreads about this book, and I felt like it really captured the essence of what I would want to say about this book. So if I can find that review, I will screenshot it and put it up so you guys can see it. The book was definitely somewhat formulaic, here's our problem and the answer is Jesus, which is good. You always want to come back to the gospel and Christ. I don't know. I guess it just lacked some I don't know what the word is. I think in comparison to another book that I read last year in 2024, it definitely just didn't affect me or encourage me as much as that one did. And that one was called Dear Mama, and it's by Well Watered Women. I don't want to say that it wasn't a good book, because it was a good book. I feel like it almost, with every chapter, with every problem that they were addressing, that it was almost like a Band-Aid Christian answer for each problem. And again, it could just be me. Another thing is I listened to the book on audio, so that could have affected my reading experience of it as well. Because typically with my Christian nonfiction books that I read, I love to dig in and highlight stuff. Okay, so the next book that I read was The Mystery of the Clockwork Sparrow by Catherine Woodfine. And this book was so fun. It is a middle grade book, and it's about a girl named Sophie. She's a teenager, and she is an orphan, and she recently got a job working at this really big fancy department store called Sinclair's, and she ends up making some unlikely friends there, and they form like a really sweet found family, and there ends up being a robbery at the store, and um, Sophie is actually being accused of the robbery. And so the book is basically this group of friends that are trying to solve the mystery of who robbed the store and to clear Sophie's name. And it was just a really good time. I will say, towards the end of the book, I think the Lord's name was used in a way that I don't prefer. Like, even if it's an exclamation, I find that to be taking the Lord's name in vain. And I want to describe that a little bit more in my next video where I'm unhauling books that take the Lord's name in vain, because I don't think I did a good job of explaining that in my first video. But anywho, there was like an instance where one of the characters used God's name in vain. At least I thought they did. So that brought my rating down. But I would still give this book 4.5 stars. And I definitely want to continue on in the series. And hopefully there aren't any other instances where that happens. Because if there are, I don't think I would continue. But we shall see. But for now, the book was really, really fun, and it was atmospheric. Loved the department store, loved the relationship between the characters, and it was just like a really good story. I will say the ending also wasn't as satisfying as I would hope that it would be. Like, it was fine. There were just some other things that I wish would have happened, but I can see how she was kind of setting the book up to end in a way where the story would continue, and so that there would be more books in the series. But even so, I would highly recommend it and think it's a really good story to check out. So let's add in some cheese to our scrambled eggs. Let me know, are you a cheesy egg kind of person, or do you like yours without? I used to be without, but then I married my husband who loves cheese, and he won me over. Okay, so the next book was unfortunately a really big flop for me, and that is 26 Below. I was really looking forward to this book and had really high expectations for it because I was like seeing it hyped so much on Instagram, and I just didn't believe the romance, nor did I like the romance. I didn't like the main female character. I found the author's writing to be a bit repetitive. Not just the plot, but like some of the things that she would write in for her characters, like the character's lips would go into a thin line, or she bit her lip. If you follow me on Instagram, you know how much I really do not like that phrase. And I don't know why it bothers me. It just irks me. It gets my nerves so much. And she wrote that so much for her female character, that the female character bit her lip. So I think I landed about a 3-star rating for this book. I will say the mystery and the intrigue of it kept me going. Like, it kept me reading because I wanted to know what was going to happen. And I will say the ending was not like, it didn't deliver for me. All right, friends. Well, it's a new day, as you can tell. And And I indeed am getting sick and started to feel pretty bad the last time I was filming. So we're gonna keep pushing through though, and filming this video is encouraging me to fold some laundry and just get some stuff done and talk about books with you guys. So that's what we're gonna do. Grace is also, I think, not feeling well, so if she needs me, I'll put this on pause, but we're gonna try. I think it's just allergies, but would appreciate your prayers that it's nothing more than that, which hopefully by the time you guys even see this, we will be feeling better. Praying that is the truth. But I think the last book that I was telling you guys about was 26 Below, and that's by Kimberly Woodhouse. And I was saying that her writing just felt a bit repetitive, and I wasn't enjoying the female character, wasn't really believing the romance. I also felt like the faith elements in the book, like there was prayers and there might have been scripture, but I can't remember. But I just kind of felt like it was, I don't know what the right word is for it, but I just didn't think that the faith content in it was that good. I liked the idea, I loved the setting, and I just think that it could have been done better. So I guess that's all I will say about that. The next book that I read was a surprising one for me because I actually put it in the pile to unhaul it in the video where I was unhauling books that took the Lord's name in vain. Come to find out, the book Animal Farm by George Orwell, it does not use the Lord's name in vain. And I don't think that was an error on ChatGPT. I think it was a personal, like I made that mistake. It does not take the Lord's name in vain. And I double checked on gosh, I struggle with saying that. I double checked on GPT, and it even says that that book does not use the Lord's name in vain. So I was like, I've already got it off my shelf and it's really short, and I was just feeling curious as to how that book would hit me since I did read it in high school, but I don't really remember reading it. I have a very poor memory, and I don't just say that to say that. Like, I genuinely mean it. My memory sucks. And I guess in terms of reading books, especially ones that you really love, it's a good thing, because then you kind of forget the story and you can experience it all over again next time because you forgot everything. So anywho, while I was intrigued with the book and read it very quickly, I mean, it's a short book, so you can read it quickly regardless. But for me, I read it very quickly because I wanted to know what was going on, and being an adult and just more aware and like having more of an understanding of political things. Not that I'm an expert by any means or know all the things, because I don't, but I have a general and better understanding now than I did then of politics. I enjoyed it, and I'm very surprised by it because it does have some violence in it, and it's about animals. And so my very sensitive heart does not do well with either of those things. And yet I was able to somewhat disconnect from it because I knew that it wasn't real, and I knew that it was, you know, like a political allegory. Is that the right word? So anywho, I gave the book 4 stars, and I want my husband to read it before I give the book away because he's never read it before, and I think he would enjoy it, and just being able to have discussion with him about it. But once he reads it, I will probably unhaul it just because I don't see myself ever reading it again. And if I do decide to read it again, I'll just check it out from the library. Because I wouldn't say it's like, oh my gosh, this is my favorite book ever now. Definitely more just like a 4-star. And I give it a 4-star because I can see the big like impact that it can have, especially in talking about not repeating history and also not just being a follower with any and everything that you hear a political leader saying or even a political party. Yeah, it has me in deep thought. I don't necessarily want to sit here and talk about political stuff because I very much don't enjoy talking about those things. Like, I will if it's going to be a productive discussion. But anywho, if you haven't read Animal Farm by George Orwell, I think you should. I also wanted to say that I'm going to go ahead and consider this as my book to fulfill the Read Your Bookshelf Challenge prompt for February, which is size. And the way that I'm using it for size is not just for the fact that it's a smaller or shorter book, but just for the fact that it has a big or large impact. Okay, and then the next book that I read before I talk about the books that I DNF'd for February was a kid's book, and I wanted to read this to see if it's something I want to keep for Grace as she gets older. And it's called Bunny's Book Club, and it was so stinking cute, you guys. It is just so bookish. It's funny, like it actually made me laugh, and it's just adorable. It's about this little bunny that sneaks into the local library and steals a bunch of the books to take back to her burrow to read. And then all her little woodland animal friends figure out like, hey, Bunny is like reading all the time, like what's going on with this? I want in on it. And so the bunny gets all of her friends reading, and then all of them end up sneaking into the library wanting to take books, and then something else unfolds. So it's just really, really cute. I highly recommend it, even if it's just a quick, fun palate cleanser type of read for you. I think you should check it out and enjoy it if you like books about books. But I think it's a great book for kids to check out. I believe those are the only books that I've read for February. If not, Editing Whitney will throw it in here if I missed one. But let's talk about the books that I DNF'd in February, because there's 4 of them, I think. So the first one that I DNF'd is Nova by Chuck Black. I was really sad about this one because I wanted to like it. This was the first sci-fi book I think I've ever read. So I listened to this book on audio, and I don't know if maybe it was reading it that way, like listening to the audiobook. Maybe that's why I didn't like it, or if maybe it was just like me and maybe sci-fi isn't for me. I just found like a lot of the stuff being like way too over my head in terms of like scientific terminology, and where it's fiction, like I'm not sure what's real and what's not that you're talking about in terms of scientific things. So I just found myself getting lost, and I don't know if this maybe also speaks into like my imagination and not being able to visualize like what was going on in the story. I really struggled with that, and so I just found myself feeling very confused and just taken out of it. So I don't know if maybe in the future, if I were to get a physical copy of it, maybe I would try again. We'll see, but for now it's going to be a DNF, unfortunately. So I DNF'd The Unraveling of Emmeline Dulaine because I found myself definitely sucked into the story and wanting to know what was going to happen about this girl that was looking for her sister, who unraveled and vanished before her eyes. I feel like I'm gonna do a bad job explaining this. So our main character finds this like little dragon under her bed, and then the dragon ends up leading her to the same spot in which she saw her sister vanish. And she sees the same thing happen to this dragon. So she decides she's going to follow the dragon into this portal, wherever it may lead, in hopes of finding her sister. And so she gets into this other world, and she quickly discovers that it's a world that she had created when she was younger. And we're introduced to another character that then starts showing her around this world. And this is where I started to lose interest and I guess become a little bit frustrated, because there's all of this world building, I guess. I'm just going to call it world building because I think that's what it is. So initially, once our main character gets to this other world, she does ask, where is my sister? And the person that's about to show her around this world basically says, like, we'll get there. Like, we've been waiting for you to get here for a long time. Let's go, introduce you to people, show you around this world. And then, proceeds to do that. And I just found myself not caring about the world and like all of these different characters who have different like abilities. And my brain is like, if this were me and I knew that my sister had been missing and we were looking for her, and I get into this new world where she most likely is, and you tell me to hold on? No, honey, where's my sister? Where's my sister? You show her to me right now if you know where she is and you know who she is. Like, you can introduce me to Tom and John and Betsy later. Like, I don't care about them and that they can make fire with their hands. Like, I came here for my family. Right? Am I the only one that thinks that? And maybe I give this book another chance in the future. If you read this book and you love it and you think I should keep going, let me know. But I think what I was most intrigued by within the book was that mystery aspect and trying to figure out like what happened to her sister. Is she going to find her sister? And I'm still intrigued. I don't know what happened. And I want to know what happened. Is she alive? I may end up finishing it. I don't know. But like I said, I found myself not caring too much about the world building and the people with different abilities. I was losing interest in that and just like not really caring. So DNF, soft DNF, I don't know. We'll see where I land. So I'm gonna pause right here, go put these clothes away, give Grace some attention, and then we'll talk about the other ones that I DNF'd. I'm just gonna sit down for a minute, drink some water, take a break. Feeling very fatigued. All right, so the next one that I DNF'd was actually a novella, and it is a fairy tale retelling of Cinderella. It's called When Harry Met Mitzi, and it's a rom-com. I went into this... What, baby? You need mama? Come here. Oh, we might need a mommy break. So, as I was saying, I went into this one thinking that it was a Christian author. She might be, and maybe just doesn't market herself that way. But when I looked after DNFing it, it just says that she's a closed door author, which is fine. I mainly had two issues with this novella. The first one was there was what I think to be a very like inappropriate sexual joke, and it was between like a side character and our main male character. she just made a comment about him being naked, and so I didn't care for that. So that was kind of my strike one. And then, in the author's defense, she did preface the book with saying that, you know, this book is going to deal with homelessness. And I guess just thinking like, this is a romance, it's a novella, and it's a rom-com. Like, how bad could it be, you know? And maybe to some people it's not that bad. Like I've said previously, I'm a highly sensitive person, and so things can affect me quite a lot. But I think going into this wanting like just something light and cheery and fun, it kind of got pretty depressing, and there was like a moment that was describing how the main character lost her dad, I think. This might be a spoiler, so maybe skip ahead a little bit, but it just talked about him being stabbed to death. And I mean, that scene in itself wasn't like played out, but it was like mentioned that he was stabbed to death. I just didn't want to read something that was depressing. And so that kind of just did it for me. I was like, I just don't think this is for me. And so I decided to put that one down. Okay, and then the final book that I decided to DNF was An Overdue Match. And I had really high hopes for this book. And this could be another one where it's like, I could be convinced to give it one more chance. But I just found that the humor wasn't really, it wasn't hitting for me. Not that it was inappropriate by any means, I just wasn't finding it funny for a rom-com. And I don't think I was fully like enjoying the main female character. And then whenever our main male character is introduced into the story, I felt like the author has this agenda in mind of pushing tattoos, and that tattoos are okay and it's not sinful, which is fine, like, but it just kind of took me out of the story a little bit. And I feel like I could tell that she was going to try to hit on that more throughout the book. Again, I could be wrong. I didn't finish the book, but I could just tell that that would be a distraction for me if she did. And then I didn't love the way that the main female character was, I'll use the author's term, ogling over the main male character and just like really zoning in on like her physical attraction. I would almost even say borderline lust over him. It does mention in the book that the main female character was feeling guilty over the way that she was like fixating on that physical attraction. So yeah, like I said, I could be convinced to give this book another try. I've seen 2 people so far give it pretty good reviews. Like I saw one person like rave about it, and then I saw another person give a 4-star review for it. So I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts. I feel like I'm okay with just skipping out on it. I wanted to make mention of the fairy tale retelling readathon that I was really hoping to participate in, but then it just didn't happen for me. I am a very, very big mood reader, and they just weren't calling to me. So I skipped out on them. Maybe next year I will participate. I definitely want to try a fairy tale retelling at some point this year because I've never read one before. So maybe in the comments, let me know, what is your all-time favorite fairy tale retelling that you've ever read? And maybe that'll kind of give me a taste for what one is like so that I can determine if it's something I want to participate in next year. Yeah, let me know also if this style of video is something that you enjoyed, or if you did not enjoy it and you would prefer me to just sit down and hold up the books as I talk about my wrap up. Feel free to let me know. It's not going to hurt my feelings either way. Just wanted to give this format a try to see if it would be easier for me as a mama and trying to take care of my home and stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a blessed day. I hope that you are all well and enjoying the books that you're reading. And until next time, I will see you on Instagram. Bye. Oh, stick around for my next video. I know a couple of you are really eager for me to make it, and it's going to be all about removing pesky stickers from your books and how to get rid of residue if it's there. So stay tuned for that one. All right, bye.